Fun fact about me, I had a stress dream before I started recording this that I deleted the wrong data from the wrong Switch. I don't know how that could possibly even happen because this was on my second Switch. My main island, my launch island, is on my Animal Crossing Switch, both of which are very distinguishable because the second Switch has red-blue Joy-Cons. So that's anxiety for you, babes. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. Originally, I had in my head that I was going to make an all-penguin island and do it kind of like how I had Roald and Iggly's houses on like iceberg-looking things on my winter island. I was going to try and do that before the end of 2025 and just do one video showcasing the island. Obviously, we didn't do that. It's the beginning of 2026 and here we are. The thought process that I have here is I am going to try and complete every Nook Miles card in the year of 2026. I'm sure that I can do this before the end of the year. I hope that I can do this before the end of the year. I hope I didn't just jinx myself, but we will see. The footage that you're going to be seeing here, I'm doing the voiceover for this after recording all the gameplay footage. It will cover roughly about the first week of the island. A little behind the scenes lore for you guys. I started this on January 2nd. I was going to do it on the 1st. I did not because I was tired from the holidays and it got away from me. However, the game thinks I started it on the 1st, so that's really all that matters, right? When I'm recording the audio for this, it is Wednesday, January 7th. It is 65 degrees Fahrenheit out where I am in Southern Virginia, and I hate it. I am miserable. It is supposed to be winter time. Later this week and at the end of the week, like into the weekend, it's supposed to be in the 70s. Get me out of here. However, I'm saying all this, I'm complaining, and next week it's supposed to be in like the 40s for a high, which is cold for here. Weather is so weird. So we got some snow at the beginning of December, which is very abnormal for where I am, and it wasn't a lot, but because they don't have like the resources and stuff down here to do anything about it, everybody freaked out. Nothing really shut down. I think the snow itself only lasted really half a day, but it was just so bizarre because typically when we do get snow here, it happens in January or February. I was up in Boston for Christmas, as I talked about in Kyle's vacation home, I think, and potentially also in the Sims 2 park build that we did, I can't remember, but it snowed while we were there, and that was very exciting. For those of you who may be new here, I am originally from the Boston area, moved down to Southern Virginia because I still live with my parents, and that's where they wanted to move because of reasons, and now they are going to be moving back up to Boston because of reasons, and I am all for that. That is neither here nor there, though. It snowed a little bit on, I think, like Christmas Eve day. We didn't have a white Christmas, I don't think. It was weird. So we were at an Airbnb because none of my relatives have space. We were at an Airbnb, and the place we were at in the Airbnb didn't really get a lot of snow. Like there were patches here and there on the grass. It didn't stick to the ground. It snowed actually the night before, now that I'm thinking of it, like the 23rd into the 24th. And when we were at my uncle's for Christmas Eve, which is kind of like one of the next towns over from where we were staying, there was snow covering everything on the ground, like even part of the driveway and stuff. So I don't know, weather is weird, but it snowed even more the morning of the 26th, 27th, whenever it was, I think overnight into the 27th, because the Airbnb guy, so I talked about this in Kyle's vacation home, I think. We were staying in a split level Airbnb where like the owners lived on the main level and the Airbnb was in their basement on the lower level of the split level home. And because it was in a basement, the ceilings were kind of low, which was fine. The shower, unfortunately, in their bathroom was about the size of a phone booth, which was a little aggravating. I am a small person and I found it difficult, but the owners obviously live there because it's their house. And at all hours of the night, I would be hearing footsteps like above my head because they live there and they were walking around. I don't know if it's just the one guy. I think there are other people who live there because I heard like other voices occasionally from over by the door that led like to the upstairs. I think he might work at Tufts. I don't know. He's definitely a scientist. I am getting so off track here. So it snowed the night of the 26th into the 27th to the point where like it was covering the roads and stuff. Because we were up north, they pre-treat the roads with brine or something, and then like they go later as it's snowing and they plow and salt if necessary. Where I am in Southern Virginia, they could never do that because they don't have the funding or the equipment to do it. So it snows and everything just shuts down, even if there's like the threat of a snowflake. So the Airbnb guy, shout out to him, he was outside at 7 o'clock in the morning in sneakers and a baseball cap shoveling the driveway, the walkway, and the walkway that led to the back entrance where the Airbnb was. house, which was really nice of him. I mean, they had to get out too if they needed to. And because it was such dry air outside, it was just powder sugar snow. So it wasn't wet and heavy, but it was still really nice. I enjoyed the snow. It made me feel happy and festive. Going back to the game real quick though, I'm very happy with our starters. This is like the third time I've ever made an island, and so far we're 3 for 3. My launch island starters who still live on my launch island are Agnes and Genji. Crinkle's starters were Renee the horse and Rolled. We ended up moving out Renee because she didn't fit with the vibe I was going for, but that's alright. And these guys, I love Goose, and Quinn is pretty cool. She's newer. I think she was introduced when the 2.0 update came out. I ranked them both pretty high, I believe, on my chickens and eagles tier list videos that I did, because I've been ranking every species individually lately. I don't really have any thoughts when it comes to villagers or even what I want to do with the theme of this island, if anything. I kind of just want to see what happens. I did end up having 2 of the 3 house plots autofill kind of on purpose, and then I used my 1 free Nook Miles ticket later on, you guys will see, spoiler alert, to get the villager that was on that island. We lucked out pretty well with all 5 of our starters. I'm hoping that the smug villager in the campsite won't ruin this. I believe that we had Klaus on my winter island? I can't remember. I know that we had Keaton on my main island. That was before I started making YouTube videos. I can't remember who was the smug guy on Kringle. I want to say it might have been Klaus. I was wrong. It was Lionel. I don't know why I thought it was Klaus. Klaus was the smug starter on my ex's island, and I don't think about my ex anymore. You guys, I wonder, so he never really touched his Switch after like the first couple years of Animal Crossing having come out. So what happened was he got a Switch at launch, like at the launch of the Nintendo Switch system. And I think that, I don't know if he had drift on his Joy-Cons or whatever happened, but he got a new Switch around the time that New Horizons came out, like beforehand. Like he traded it in for like an updated Switch or whatever. And then we played Mario Kart together for like a week because I got my Animal Crossing Switch and then the game came out the week later, because if you're in the US and you ordered the Animal Crossing Edition Switch, it did not come with the game because it came like a week before the game released. So we played Mario Kart for a bit, and then we played Animal Crossing together, and this was, you know, COVID times, obviously, like bad COVID times. And he at that point still lived in Hawaii, and then he moved to the East Coast for his job, and he decided to just get married to his job instead of proposing to me. So he never really touched his Switch. There were several times where he was like, I'm just gonna give you my Switch so you can redo my island and you can do whatever you want with it. He never gave me his Switch. Not that I really care, because I have my own Switch. I have 2 Switches. I still haven't gotten a Switch 2. I'm going to sell my red blue one to pay for part of the Switch 2. I talked about this a while ago. I'm not really in a huge rush. I was going to try and get it for the 3.0 update, but there's not really a lot coming to the Switch 2 that I really care about apart from the megaphone for like the update pack. So I think I'm just gonna wait a little bit and get it closer to when Pokopia comes out, because I'm really looking forward to that game and I really want to play it, but unfortunately it's only on the Switch 2. I guarantee you my ex's Switch is still sitting in its dock, plugged into his TV. He's never going to open Animal Crossing again. His villagers are going to wonder where he went. His island is going to be filled with weeds. It's going to be decrepit. And that's really funny to me. Anyway, I panicked. I did not know what to name this island. I was going to try and name it something relevant to the Nook Miles card challenge, but I couldn't think of anything, so we settled on Clover, which I'm not really a huge fan of, but I like the island. I like the villagers. We're fine. It's going to be fine. I think we can do something with it. If I do end up making this into a dream address at the end, I think that we'll go for like a kind of spring theme. Not spring core, but I don't know, something green and lush. Maybe have the dream address in late spring, early summer. I have no thoughts right now. I'm hoping I can get to 3 stars before the 3.0 update comes out. I'm sure that I can do it. I think that everything is going to unlock when you reach 3 stars. It obviously would make sense for the hotel resort thing too, because that's when you unlock Cap'n and his boat tours with the pretense of finding Brewster for like the very first one. But I'm also sure, actually, I think I talked about this in a previous video. I was gonna say I'm sure that Slumber Islands will as well, but dreaming with the dream addresses unlocks as soon as you upgrade your tent from a tent to a house. So I'm sure that if I was playing and the 3.0 update was out now, that I could do a Slumber Island, but that's not the case. In the next part, when I play this, the 3.0 update will be out, which will be very exciting. What are you guys looking forward to the most? I'm looking forward to the Rossetti service, specifically for this island, because I've been chucking a bunch of random furniture out and about. Anything that my villagers give me, anything that I get from Balloons, most of the stuff that I've been buying from Nook's Cranny and the catalog, I've just been putting it outside because I'm hoping that will speed run my road to 3 stars and be able to terraform. And speaking of terraforming, I'm not really planning on terraforming at all on this island. I'm going to do like 1 square, I think, of landscaping and waterscaping and pathing just to get the Nook Miles for that, because there is a Nook Miles card for it. But I don't think I'm going to change the landscape. I think I just want to decorate, because like with this island, we're mostly going to be focusing on getting every Nook Miles card completed, not just unlocking the first thing on every Nook Miles card, but getting every Nook Miles card completed, which means some of them are going to be a slog. Like I'm picturing the art one and the fossil one being terrible, as well as the sea creatures one, which is already kind of the bane of my existence. I mean, I like diving. I think it's fun, but also it's kind of boring sometimes because you're just like floating around and swimming around trying to find stuff in the ocean. And sometimes the bubbles are hard to see, for me at least. Like it depends on the time of day in the game. Although as we continue on here, I do catch quite a few sea creatures. The other card that I think is going to be really difficult is the flea flicker one, where you have to get fleas off of villagers. I've been playing with the sound on though. I don't think we've had any fleas ever so far. I don't even know if there are any requirements for that. I know that Dagnall did a stream where he was catching like every creature in the game or every bug in the game, like from least to most rare or something. He was doing something kind of fairly recent-ish to me recording this. And the most difficult thing that he had was getting the flea in New Horizons. I can't remember which speed run it was that he was doing, but it was one that he was doing in 2025. And I remember that the flea took him so long to get in New Horizons, and I'm like, oh no, what if that's gonna be me? Because the flea flicker card has like several steps to it. Like it's not just catching the one flea. I think you have to catch quite a few in order to complete it. Am I wrong? I haven't caught fleas in I don't know how long. I play with the sound off more often than not, so I can't hear them and I can't really see them, so I go by like the sound. Anyway, here we are. Like I said, it's January 7th today. I still have my Christmas decorations up. When do you guys typically take your stuff down? I have the tree up still behind me that's like next to my bookcase, and I have the little one that is on my fireplace. I talked about this in past videos. The bigger one is white, kind of looking iridescent with like silver and blue and white ornaments on it and a blue star on top, and the smaller one is just a regular little green tabletop tree. I put some lights on it, and every ornament on there, with the exception of some little tiny gold and silver ball ornaments, is representative of a yellow lab or a golden retriever or both, whatever you want to call it. A lot of them look like they could be either, because my dog, Fawn, is a yellow lab. She was my guide dog. If you guys are new here, I'm visually impaired. Hi, hello. And I have had that little tree for quite a while, like a long time. I can't remember when exactly I started doing it, but it was before I moved, and that was in 2020 when I moved. And I've had Fawn for about 11 years now. Here we are in 2026. I got her from Guide Dog Foundation. I did a video on my whole guide dog experience on my main channel. If you guys want to check that out, I'll try to remember to link it in the description down below. But I went in 2015. I was still in college, and they do a 2-week training. And because it was in January and in the Northeast, it snowed like hell. I was on one of the last flights out of Boston, because like they booked me a flight from Boston to New York, because the thing is on Long Island. And the whole thing about guide dog school is that they pay for your travel and they pay for everything. I think the only one that you might have to pay for is the Seeing Eye, which is the oldest guide dog school in the country, and I think that they have like a fee per dog that is paid by the handler. I think it's like $75 or something for the first dog and $50 for each like successor dog, like if you go back for another dog later. I could be wrong, I don't know. At Guide Dog Foundation, and I think at most of the other guide dog schools in the US as well, they do like all expenses paid, because they have like sponsors and stuff, like people who will pay to sponsor a dog or whatever the case may be. I mean, they're a nonprofit, so they get all their money from like grants, I think, and whatever. I don't really know how it works, but I went there. They paid for me to go there and do the training because I applied. It's a whole application process. You can't just like go for funsies. But I went, and it was during what was referred to at the time as Superstorm Juno, which is the storm that dumped, I think, like over 120 inches of snow in Boston during that winter, which was great for me. So when I was there, I remember a lot of the times I would wake up and look at my phone and I would get like an email from my school email telling me that classes were canceled or delayed that day because of all the snow, which worked out really well because I was not there. I was in guide dog training. So I didn't really miss as much class as I thought I was going to. It was also my final year of college, so that was great. It was like my final semester, but it continued as I went home and continued going through the semester because the winter was so bad. I think that year we didn't have a full week of classes until like March. I think it was like around spring break because the university that I went to, I lived there, but it's a small state school and about half the people who were there were commuters. And then, you know, you have to take into account the professors and stuff. Some of them lived like not close. Like some of them lived in Boston. I went to college not in the Boston area. I went like further out in Massachusetts, like in central Mass-ish. But it was nice because I didn't miss as much class and I came back with my guide dog. I had to retire her earlier than anticipated because she got distracted by other dogs, but that's okay because she's still hanging out and she's still living the pet life and we love her. Anyway, though, the Christmas decor, part of the reason why I still have it up is because I like it and it brings me joy. The other part is because it has to go in the crawl space, and the crawl space is a disaster, and it's not a one-person job, it's a two-person job to try and organize it. Because the houses here don't have basements, since we're like at sea level or whatever, people will store stuff in the garages as well as a crawl space and or attic. We don't really have an attic in this house, so there is a crawl space though, and there's a lot of storage stuff in there. There's some bins that I had filled with stuff that I need to go through because I'm sure a lot of it can be donated or put to use. There's luggage in there. There's just things, and all the things we're keeping or we're gonna like sift through, but the way that it is packed in there is not conducive for putting things in and taking things out. As it is, when we got back from Boston, I had to try and maneuver my luggage back in there because that's where the luggage goes. It was a little difficult, but I'm okay if that means that I get to keep my trees up a little longer. They're not really drawing that much more energy than normal. I have them both plugged into smart plugs that work with my Echo, so I can tell the A-Lady to turn them off and on, which is really cute and fun. Also, speaking of the holidays, so I don't know about you guys, but you know the Ferrero Rocher candy? Like the little balls of chocolate hazelnut. There's like a hazelnut in the middle of it, and it's like rolled in hazelnut or whatever. The people who make Nutella, they have the candy, the little chocolate balls. I think they come in other flavors, but I typically will have the milk chocolate ones with the hazelnut because that's my favorite. I only associate those with Christmas. I will eat them other times of the year if available, but I only associate them with Christmas because I think the first time I ever had them, they were given to my parents and I by a family member, and it was Christmas. And so in my mind, it's a Christmas chocolate. I was out today. I went to CVS to get something else, and they had them half off because they were in Christmas tree packaging. It was lovely. I got 2. I think there's like 12 each in there or whatever. So that's great because now I have some lovely chocolate to enjoy. I love Nutella. It's almost a curse. The other thing that I tried recently, so a friend of mine, her and her husband, she's completely blind, and her husband I think can see a little bit, but he's also hard of hearing. So he does the grocery shopping. And I don't know what the situation was, but she had like made a Facebook post about this, so it's like public knowledge. It was hard for him to see and hear what was going on when he was shopping in the snack aisle, so he just grabbed like a bunch of stuff and put it in their cart and then came home. And one of the things was like cheese pizza flavored Cheeto Puffs, which I never knew existed because I'm not actively looking for stuff like that, but that is something I would eat. So I found a bag. I think I got them at Walmart. They're pretty good. I don't think that they're like amazing. I think they're better than the Nerds gummy clusters that I had a few weeks ago for the first time ever. My friend and her husband said they devoured the whole bag in one sitting, which like that's valid. And also the way that they pack potato chip and cheese curl bags is such a ripoff. I get that. I think it has to do with the way that it is transported or when you open it or whatever. There's something weird to do with like the amount of air in the bag or something. I don't know. But it sucks because like half the bag is air and it's like, what am I paying for here? Such a ripoff. But the cheese pizza Cheetos, I think they're good. I haven't had the cheese pizza goldfish in a while. I think that my favorite goldfish would probably have to be the Parmesan ones. I remember those being really good from when I actively ate goldfish. My ex used to call them fish crackers because I don't know if he like knew the name of them or like maybe his parents got off-brand goldfish when him and his sister were growing up, but he would always refer to them as fish crackers and I never had any idea what he was talking about. Come to find out he meant goldfish. Isn't that weird how stuff like that can happen? It's almost like a Mandela effect, but not really. Speaking of shopping though, I want to go back really quick to what Timmy was saying to me when I was trying to sell that stuff to him. I don't know if he was referring to me selling the radio or something. I've never seen text like that before, ever. And when I tried to recreate it when selling the camping cot to Nook's Cranny when the store was like actually up and running, neither of them said anything about it. So I don't know if it's just a special like flavor text that they have when resident services is still a tent and there's nothing going on yet and the shop isn't built, or what happened, because I wasn't selling him trash. I even tried to sell him a boot when Nook's Cranny was open. I like had a boot in my pockets as well as a few other things, and I tried to sell them and nothing happened. They didn't say anything weird about it. Have you guys ever seen stuff like that? I've been playing this game since launch. Granted, I don't pay attention to the dialogue half the time anymore because a lot of it is just repetition, but I thought that was so interesting. Are there little Easter eggs like that that you guys have discovered about this game? Let me know in the comments. I want to switch gears here though and talk about reading. I know I've been talking about literally anything except the gameplay, but that's just because there's not a whole lot to say. We're doing it. We're in the prologue. This is taking longer than I thought it would because, as you'll see, I miscalculated on the amount of clay that I had. I thought that I could have made both of the required items. I could not. It's weird. I think that there's like a bigger pool of items that the game can pull from for the 3 house plots, because I remember distinctly on my launch island, one of the house plots required a stone table and a stone stool or something like that. I know the stone table was involved. I could be completely off base, but I do not recall having to make that garden table, the big one, the natural garden table, whatever we're calling it. I think that's what it is. And the chair that goes along with it for the 3 house plots on my main island. And I can't remember what we had to do for Kringle, but I know that one of them had the stone table and I haven't seen it ever since. So there must be a pretty big pool of items. Also, I swear to God, so there's a way, I said I've been talking about everything except the game and here we are, but there's a way to know what your native flower is going to be based on your player birthday that you set, as well as when you start your island, like what season or month or something. I thought we were going to get windflowers because we always get windflowers because my birthday is in May, but our native flower is roses, which is so silly because that's never happened to me before. I think the sister flower is windflowers because Nook gave us windflowers at the beginning, and I think when I was on Nook Miles Islands, well, the one Nook Miles Island that I went to, I think that there were windflowers there. I could be completely misremembering. I'm not going to go back and look at the footage. You guys will correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really care. So we have roses as our native flower now. I think I'm going to try and get a blue rose. I've never done that. Fun fact about me, the first ever blue rose that I ever got in this game was given to me by a friend of mine in a Discord server because I didn't want to deal with the breeding and he had figured out the science, and I think he also looked at the data mine information, and he gave me a planted blue rose, and that was that. And now here we are 6 years later almost since the game launched, and I still haven't bred a blue rose normally through gameplay. So that's something that we can figure out here. Anyway, back to the whole reading thing. So I read 27 books in 2025. My goal was 20. I set this on Goodreads. I know people are migrating away from Goodreads and using Storygraph and other tools and websites and trackers and whatever, but I know Goodreads and I don't want to have to learn a new thing. I also keep track in a Google sheet, but that's different. Anyway, I had read 27 books. I talked about this in the past. I set my 2026 goal for 25 books. We're setting realistic expectations this year for New Year's resolutions, and I don't really even do New Year's resolutions. All of my New Year's resolutions are realistic and not requiring a whole lot of effort effort or any major life changes or anything, just slight things to improve upon what I already am doing in my daily life. So the book thing, I started reading The Let Them Theory by Mel and Sawyer Robbins. That is the book that I started out with this year. It was okay. I thought it was kind of dry. I know it's more like a self-help sort of book, and there were quite a few anecdotal things in there, but I was hoping more for the anecdotal part and less for like the research part. I get it. It's just not what I normally read. I thought it was just all right. I'm glad that I read it. I think that the advice in there for the most part is pretty decent, but it's not what I read. Like, I usually skew towards young adult fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, some romance type stuff. I mean, like I said, I'm glad that I read it. It was the first book of the year and it was just okay though, so I'm hoping that that doesn't set the bar for the other books I'm going to read this year. Because the first book I read in 2025, I think it was Ellie Haycock is Totally Normal. I can't remember who the author is, but that was a good book. I liked that a lot. The one that I'm reading now, it's All the Bright Places by Jessica Niven, something like that. It's good so far. I'm a fourth of the way through. I'm not reading it because it's a Netflix film. I don't even know if I knew it was a Netflix film. I'm reading it because I don't know why. I think I saw it somewhere. It like popped up on Goodreads somewhere for me, or somebody else read it, or it was like in because you read this, you might like this, like that part of my Kindle app. Because what I do is I have a library card with Libby. So like I get books through my local library through the Libby app, the OneDrive app, whatever we're calling it. Overdrive, not OneDrive. OneDrive is the Microsoft storage thing. Overdrive used to be what Libby is now. So I do that and then I read it through Kindle, like on my phone or my iPad. I used to be able to read regular print hardcover books. Unfortunately, I can no longer do that, so I am relegated to reading on a screen, which really sucks. My Braille skills are not there anymore, really, and I was always pretty slow at it, and Braille books are stupidly large. Like, if you guys have ever seen any of the Harry Potter books, they come in several gigantic volumes. I knew someone who had the 7th Harry Potter book. It took up an entire bookshelf in their home. It was so big. Like, the Bible takes up a whole room because it's just so much, because it takes up more space than print. And I can read large print, but there are not a lot of paper, like physical books, hardcover or paperback, available in large print, which really stinks. So anyway, we're reading this on my Kindle. Like I said, it's pretty good so far. I think that I'm going to read some of her other stuff too. It looks like she's written a lot. I don't know if it's anything I would like, but we'll see. I am going to read Project Hail Mary at some point. I know the movie is coming out in March or whatever. Again, I'm not reading it because the movie is coming out. I was going to read it because California Boy told me he really liked it. It was one of his favorites and he was also pumped for the movie. But he and I still are not really talking right now. Not for nothing. Like, I'm not mad at him. I don't think he's mad at me or whatever. It's just like we drifted apart and that's all right. But a friend of mine who might be subscribed here, I don't know if she watches these videos, but hi, if you are, she graduated with a PhD from MIT earlier in 2025. It's so weird now that we're in a new year. But she is a space fan and she was encouraging me to read Project Hail Mary. I am going to read it. I have a couple other books that are on hold through my library. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head right now. I think one is The Academy. I think it was written by a mother and daughter. I can't remember the names. The other one is called The One, and it reminds me of like a slightly older version of Matched. Do you guys remember the Matched trilogy by whoever wrote it? Not Kira Cass. Did she write that? Ali Condi. Kira Cass wrote the Selection series, which is amazing, and I highly suggest that you guys read it if you haven't already. There are, I think, like 4 books plus a little anthology and 2 that are like a spin-off sort of revival. Anyway, The One is written by John Marrs, Marrs, and I also have An Academy of Liars on my holds list written by Alexis Henderson. Also, The Academy, the book that I mentioned earlier, is written by Ellen Hildebrand and Shelby Cunningham. I literally have this up, like I'm looking at it right now in front of my face. As always, leave some book suggestions down in the comments comments. Whether or not I get to them is beyond me, but I might add them to my to be read list, which is long. There are quite a lot of things on there, but that's okay. I think 25 is a pretty realistic goal. A couple of years ago, I ended up reading 40 books, but a lot of them were shorter. That was in 2024, and that was because I read the entire Princess Diaries series by Meg Cabot, and most of those books are around 200 to 300 pages. Like, I don't really think they go much over 300 pages. I can't remember too if that was the year I read the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. I might have read them either then or in 2023. Things are very foggy. I read a lot of books. I love books. I love reading. I also love writing, though I haven't really done a lot of that recently, and I've been struggling for inspiration, which is a shame because I've been trying to write more. I do keep a journal, but that's not the same. I just write about like what I did during the day, what my thoughts are. It's just like a running ramble of things in my head. Kind of like me talking in this video, in any of these videos. It's almost like a podcast, except I'm just writing stuff down. There's more to it. It's not just like a bunch of random jumble of things. It's like pretty laid out, going through day by day for the most part. I've been keeping this journal actually since like 2011, off and on. I have skipped months and I think at one point almost a year or more than a year, but I have been keeping it off and on. I don't know. I feel like that's an accomplishment. Anyway, recently I got myself a pair of Bose Quiet Comfort headphones. They were on sale. I got them at about half off through Amazon because I think they must have been doing a price match thing with Bose because the Bose website had them at the same price, except Amazon had the color I wanted. They had a limited edition chilled lilac color for the headphones, and they're beautiful, and the cable that it comes with is also the same pretty purple color as the headphones. I had a pair of Beats like 10 or 11 years ago that were also purple. They were more like a royal blue. I think I bought them from Best Buy or something. Like, I remember going to a place physically to buy them. This was also back when phones had headphone jacks, so that was nice. But when they say that the Bose ones are noise canceling, they mean it. I've never owned a pair of noise canceling headphones. Backing up though really quick, so they were about half off, but I had like a gajillion Amazon gift cards in my account at that point when I was buying them, so I ended up getting them for like $35 out of pocket, which I think is really great. So I have them. I tried them. I had them hooked up to my computer, and then I got the Bose app onto my phone because I wasn't quite sure how to change the mode, like how to change between noise canceling and non-noise canceling. When I tell you guys, when I put the noise canceling thing on, so I had a white noise fan sounds app thing coming from my Echo. I have that on at night so I can sleep. I can't sleep in total silence. And I was listening to a book. Like, I had the Kindle assisted reader thing going on my phone. When I turned on the noise canceling thing on those headphones, I swear I thought my Echo stopped making noise. I thought there was an issue with the internet or it cut out or something, because our internet updates itself, like the network, at like 3 a.m. This was not at 3 a.m. This was at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I couldn't hear my Echo. I could only hear the book. It was amazing. I understand it now. I get the hype. I can't wait to take them on a plane or in a long car ride or something. It's very exciting. This probably sounds so incredibly lame to you, but I am thrilled. Do you guys think that Nintendo will release the 3.0 update early like they did with 2.0? I mean, I'm pretty sure that once it hits midnight on the 15th in whatever time zone that you're in, that it'll just like be available. I don't know. So, fun fact. Well, first off, my game is digital on this console that I'm playing on, but on my main island, on my Animal Crossing Edition Switch, it's the physical game card. So when the 2.0 update in Happy Home Paradise came out, which obviously like that's a paid DLC, that's optional, but my Animal Crossing Switch was on its way back from Nintendo because my fan in the Switch was having issues. It was making a really terrible noise. I don't know, they fixed it. I think they replaced the parts or whatever. I probably could have done it myself. I mean, my ex made it sound pretty easy and people online made it that sound pretty easy using thermal paste or whatever, but it scared me and I much would have rather had Nintendo do it. So I got my console back on the day that the 2.0 update and Happy Home Paradise was supposed to be released, but of course Nintendo pulled a fast one and released it like the night before or whatever. I'm hoping that they'll do that with 3.0 because I did not get to experience that with 2.0 and I felt kind of left out. I mean, we'll figure it out soon enough. The update is going to come out in like basically a week from me recording this, which I still can't believe. I feel like it was only yesterday when the game launched and it was 2020 when the game launched. Honestly, New Horizons had a lot going for it. Not only was it a popular title, but it came out at the most perfect time. Nintendo could not have planned that better, which is funny because a lot of people think that it came out due to the pandemic starting or something. It was supposed to be released in 2019. There was promotional material for it at a Nintendo Direct, I think in 2018 or something, or sometime in 2019, I don't remember, where it said the release year was 2019, and then Nintendo announced that they had to push it back, and that's why it came out in the spring of 2020. I mean, I'm glad that we're actually still getting updates for this game. I still can't believe it's been almost 6 years since the thing released, and we're getting an update. This is kind of like what happened with New Leaf and the Welcome Amiibo update, except this one I feel like is not bringing as much content as the Welcome Amiibo update, because the Welcome Amiibo update literally brought back villagers that were not in the base game of New Leaf. While this is adding new villagers via Amiibo in Zelda and Splatoon collabs, it's not adding back old villagers that were in the game. Although I could be completely off base. I think I've said a lot of stuff in this video that is incorrect. I started playing New Leaf in like 2018 or something, so honestly, who am I to be talking about this? I really hope that this update is going to bring a lot of people back to the community, because I know that a large amount of people stopped playing when the game stopped receiving updates, which is valid, but also, like, I still play The Sims 2 and The Sims 3, and those games have not been updated in literal years. And I know other people who do the same thing, like there are whole communities built on those games, just like with Animal Crossing. And I know there are a lot of people who still play it. There are content creators who still play it and make content about it, but that's a little different. I'm hoping that we'll see a good revitalization in the community. I'm looking forward to seeing people's builds again. And I think that having the resort hotel, even though I criticized it a little bit at the beginning because it is basically Happy Home Paradise light version, it's going to be like a more accessible way for people to design and stuff without having to pay an extra price for the DLC or get the Nintendo Online expansion pack thing. In other news, I am very tired. I unfortunately was woken up at 4:30 this morning. For context, I had put in an order from Amazon for an overnight delivery of this Da Vinci vanilla syrup that I put in my coffee every morning. Before you come at me for using Amazon, I literally can only find it there, and Amazon is convenient for me. However, we are babysitting a dog this week. I guess dog sitting? We're dog sitting a dog. My cousin's dog. They're out of the country on a vacation in the Caribbean, and they have us watching their dog. The dog is an Australian cattle dog mixed with a poodle, and probably something else. The dog barks. Not all the time, but I think if it was just Fawn here when the Amazon guy delivered the package at 4:30 this morning, it would have been fine. But because one of them started barking, they both started barking. And because it was overnight delivery, so I could choose between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. delivery or 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. delivery. And I chose the 4 to 8, thinking that it would be closer to the 8 a.m. side. Because the last time I think I chose something for delivery between 7 and 11, it came in the middle of that delivery time. And my father had to leave at like 3 something this morning because he had to drive these relatives to the airport. Unfortunately, that didn't go so well either. I guess they had asked him to be like at their house or something by 3:45 in the morning. He went there and knocked on the door and rang the bell and whatever, and apparently they had set their alarm for 4 a.m. so they were not even out of bed yet. But it was, so he was picking up like 2 sets of people, like 2 couples, 2 families that are related to us, and one of them had said, oh yeah, get us at 4, it'll be fine, or get us at 3:45 or whatever. And it was a group text, and the other one didn't read the message, so he showed up at the first house that didn't read the message at 3:45 on time, thinking everything was going to be fine, and it was not. I mean, it was whatever, but I was kind of sad that I was woken up at 4:30 by dogs barking. Yes, it was my fault. I shouldn't have ordered it and had it delivered between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. But how was I supposed to know that was going to happen? One of the things that I have to do soon, hopefully next week, I need to get a new phone. I have an iPhone 11. I think I talked about this. I can't remember. My battery has already been replaced once, and the battery is still not great. It's like not terrible, but it's not great by any means. And not only that, but like because it's older, some apps are a little more clunky than they used to be because of all the updates and whatever. So I was gonna get a 17 because they have it in purple, and I really like the purple color. It's like a lilac or whatever. But I can't for the life of me find a cute case that also has MagSafe capabilities. I want a case that's purple, not necessarily to color match it exactly, but the phone case that I have now, it's like geometric and it's different shades of purples and blues, and they're all like kind of pastel versions of purple and blue, and there's like these silver lines running through it, kind of like to make it like almost like a geometric fractal kind of shape. And the silver lines on the phone case are shiny, almost like, you know, the holographic cards or whatever, but like not. More like iridescent, I guess, but silver. Like there's almost like a layer on the silver lines that make it look iridescent when it hits the light. I don't know how to describe it, but I want like a cute phone case. Where are you guys getting your phone cases from? I've checked Amazon. I can't find anything nice. I don't want to get an Apple case because they're lame. Like they're just solid colors. Where are you getting your phone cases? Have you gotten them from Etsy? Like where are you guys getting your phone cases from? I want something cute, but also that can do MagSafe. I don't want to do Casetify. I had a Casetify case on my old iPhone when I had a 6S, and the case like broke apart after a year or two. Plus, I think now a lot of the stuff on their website is stolen art or AI generated, and I don't want to do any of that. I would rather either just get one from like a retailer or get one from Etsy or something. I don't know. Like, I don't want to do OtterBox either, because while I do want to have some protection on my phone, I also want the case to look cute. I found a couple of things on Amazon, now that I think of it, that do look pretty. One that was not MagSafe compatible, which really sucked because I liked the case design. But there's like one phone case I think that I found that I liked that's not a solid color, that is purple or has purple in it and is MagSafe. And I don't know if it's because the 17 is a newer phone and it's slightly different in the size comparison to the older iPhones. Like I think it's thicker or something. I don't know. But I need a cute phone case that also does MagSafe and offers protection, obviously, but not to the extent of OtterBox. Anyway, we are done here with this part of the video. Next time, I think Resident Services should hopefully be upgrading to a building, which means that we'll have more to do. We'll be on our way to 3 stars. I think we have good starters, like I said so far. I'm interested to see who our camper is going to be for the smug type, but beyond that, I don't really care. If anybody wants to move out, they can, although I would like to keep Sydney and Bangle, and maybe also Goose and Quinn. So I guess if Simon wants to move, he can move. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave any comments, feedback, and suggestions down below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.